check ops meeting.
I know. Is that me? I'm 4. How about that? No, little feedback. Test.
Let's put our mics on so you can
All right.
set the sound level.
Mute your. There's echo in the chat room, so.
Oh.
That's muted. That's muted. Did that help Did that help the echo in the chat?
10-second delay to the chat room.
Is that what it is?
Some of you,
Check.
whoa. Some of you, where this camera is pointed, you are live on the internet right now. So
From here all the way to yellow backpack. And then back. Okay, test, 1, 2, test. Up a little bit.
Testing. 1, 2.
Turn it a little bit.
All right, I'm gonna put some music on and try to talk over that when it fades
Ready.
out. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Can you guys hear us?
how about back there a little bit? Maybe just a little.
Steph, can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay.
Some of you are deaf over there, so you don't. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Yeah.
Say it again.
I'm picking somebody from the chat room. Travis in the chat room. Is it topping out or does it sound okay?
By the way, I fixed my headset from Pilot Edge. He had me adjust the volume. So it'll be better next time.
Okay. Let me turn this off.
He says it's good.
Okay.
We just have to talk loud.
Yeah, we just can't be whispering.
That's right. Over the tri-motor. Occasionally.
I forgot it. Thank you for reminding me live.
Delta Airlines lost that yesterday.
Yeah. And all the merchandise giveaways we had are in Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mike is the reason. Mike from Flying in Life is the reason we're here. He got us. He got us to Milwaukee.
He did. He
Is
did.
he here?
He is not here. He's at home.
Okay.
All right. You see recording on there? We already hit record.
Yep.
It's 10.
Yeah, we're recording.
We're live. We're streaming. Everybody, thank you for coming out. We are working through some. We haven't worked with this audio setup ever, so bear with us. We are streaming out to the internet. When we get to the point where we're asking questions, we're going to put the camera on you. Right now, it's not public. It's a small group of people listening and watching, but just so you're aware, someone can see you. They can see us too. We have 2 cameras set up. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We will do our best to stick with a normal show at the beginning and very quickly turn the microphones over to the audience. We want live questions today. All right? Anything before we go?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
All right. And we're definitely recording. I can't see those.
3,
so.
2, 1, recording. 1.
We don't have to do that. We're all on the same
4.
track.
But it helps us make it feel normal.
Actually, that's not true. I'm pulling audio from your and then mixing it with mine. We're feeding them together to get out to the world right now and to these speakers.
Yeah.
So we could do a count. You don't have to do it. You guys are on the same time.
Okay.
We're on the same one. We don't have to do a count. Oh,
One.
no, I have to do a count.
Yeah. 1,
2,
3,
4.
All right. That's a whole story. We can explain that. I'm trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything before we go. Can you think of anything?
Once the train leaves the station, it
it
doesn't come back.
Yeah, we don't do retakes.
Yeah.
We're going to play the intro music. You guys can feel free to, that mic will pick you guys up. In fact, I do want that aimed out in a minute. Feel free to be loud as the intro music comes to an end. You guys ready?
Yeah, that would be great. Pretend to be enthusiastic.
Pretend.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
All right.
I'm just making sure I have inputs on say something. If they can hear you, it's going into
You
that.
got 4 inputs. Brian, say something.
Test, 1, 2, test.
Yours is a little bit low, but
His
okay.
is a little low.
And
Here,
we
I'll
got
turn his up a little.
Test, 1,
Ready.
2,
that made
test.
a peak, right?
Yep.
And Jeff, you want to test this mic one more time for me? It is sitting up on the table.
This is Mike. I'm asking you a question.
Do it again.
I'm trying to sound intelligent.
We're gonna need
One
that.
more
working.
time.
Hello, testing 1, 2,
Okay.
3.
Yep. We'll have to talk loud into that too, so everybody can hear it. But it works. We're good. All right.
All right.
I'm ready.
Ready?
We can just start with music. I'm gonna play
Yeah.
the music.
Play the music.
We haven't
Play
done
music.
it in a live show.
We haven't.
Okay.
Ready. This is Opposing Bases Air Traffic Call. Your hosts, Romeo Hotel and Alpha Golf, have a combined 40 years of aviation experience as pilots and air traffic controllers. They answer your questions and share their opinions about flying and air traffic control. This show is not official guidance and should not be used as a replacement for your instructor, your pilot examiner, the endless books of regulations, your favorite comedian, your neighbor, your spouse, or your cat.
November 628 Charlie Delta Squawk 1200 frequency change approved. The audio will be available on live ATC. Good day.
November 64328 Mike, Circles Approach, runway 23, Connect Tower.
November 3222 Yankee, area of heavy to extreme precipitation, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. 15 miles, 70 miles. And
3047 Charlie, try departure, radar contact, climb and maintain.
November 747 Sierra Lima, reduce speed to 180. You're overtaking traffic ahead on final.
Skyhawk 77 Tango, IFR cancellation received, swap 3 o'clock, frequency change approved.
Sierra 720 Foxtrot Alpha, flighting 190 vectors for the visual approach, runway 23 left.
Enter triad class Charlie surface area from the east, maintain special.
Charlie Fox Golf Foxtrot Alpha, this is Triad Approach, on guard. You are being intercepted. The border is still closed. Say intentions.
Please welcome your favorite controllers, Alpha Golf and Romeo Hotel.
It's Saturday, July 29th, 2023, episode 291. On today's show, we have a special guest co-host, Bravo Kilo. He's our expert on AirVenture ATC, a live audience. Give yourself a round of applause. And the parts of a penguin palooza over here. We're happy to be here, and we can't wait to start the live show. What's up, baby?
Hello, everyone.
It was quite a trip getting up here.
We made it, though. We made it.
We did make it. You guys slept in wet tents. We dozed off on a 737 until 4 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Couple hours of sleep.
at the most.
Yeah. A nap.
A
more
nap.
like. Yeah.
A nap in an ice box.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because somebody turned the air down to 60.
You pointed at the machine and said, "You do not go off." So it didn't go off. I think I did what I was supposed to do. Thank you to Juliet Echo Foxtrot. Where are you? There you are. He's our VP of Oshkosh production. Picked us up at Milwaukee Hotel this morning. Thank you. Round of applause for Jeff. We got to Milwaukee after a creative solution to a problem due to weather in Atlanta. We were supposed to go to Green Bay. Hello, Tri-Motor. We had to be controllers and figure it out on the fly.
We did. We had some help
We did.
from Mike.
Mike was on the computer on the airplane that he was a passenger on and said, try this, this, and this. And we tried this, that, and this. And my bag didn't make it. And neither did the merchandise we're supposed to hand out today. But We made it. All the equipment made it, and Bravo Kilo made it.
Barely.
What's up, BK?
Hello.
Thank you for joining us today.
Super glad to be here.
Tell us how you got here.
Oh my goodness. 6-day work week. Had the midnight shift Thursday night, 10:30 to 6:30 a.m. on Friday. Hightailed it from J.R. Ewing Memorial Tower to the big airport. Had a 9 a.m. flight, got there. Mrs. BK and my mini-me are in the audience over there.
Hey.
She's a trooper. Everything was great until we're sitting at the gate, and then people just start getting up.
On the plane?
No, we're at the gate.
Oh, at the gate.
We're at the
Okay.
gate. People just start randomly getting up and moving. We're like, was there a gate change? There's no announcement. I'm refreshing the app on my phone, and then somebody goes, hey, you going to Milwaukee? Yeah. There's gate change. What? Well, it appeared in our Google Calendar first.
Wow.
Before the app. So we go over to gate whatever, and guess what? We're supposed to board in like 30 minutes, right? No airplane. The airplane wasn't officially broke, and I'm sure that as general aviation pilots, you can understand this, something that happens intermittently, but you can't chase it down. I think that's what happened with the hydraulic system. I'm not a mechanic. They didn't want to fly it out to a base that didn't have, or a station that didn't have maintenance support. So they brought one from the hangar because there's spares at the big airport. It took them 30 minutes to bring the plane over. We get on, and they go, well, folks, this plane's been sitting here for about 4 days on spare, and there's no catering on board. And we have catering for you, but there's no catering at Milwaukee, so we got to preload the catering for the trip back. That was another 30 minutes. And as the patrons know, they've been following along this trip, I had a special ride planned to pick us up in a Cessna 182 at Milwaukee and fly the arrival to land just before the air show. We would have gotten here before 2. We did not arrive at camp until 6:30 p.m.
Right for the rain.
It didn't rain till like 10:30.
Okay. So you were driving for a few minutes, and then
Yeah, we had dinner and rested. Took a bus, had about 3 different transfers. Finally got on airport, and the tent was waiting for us, and set up, had some dinner, opened Wisconsin's favorite beer, Spotted Cow.
nice plug, free plug.
Sorry. And then we're here.
We're happy you made it, even though you can't work this year. You're here as a
Guest.
camper guest.
Camper, yeah.
Yes.
Visitor.
Next year, hopefully you're back.
Yep.
Maybe one of us will be controlling up there one day.
That'd be awesome.
This is our 4th year doing a live show at AirVenture. Thank you to AOPA for letting us use this space. Last year we didn't know anything about AOPA space here, and we flew up in a Skyhawk, which is less reliable than Delta. So we didn't promote it until we got here and we're physically here. This year we promoted it and almost didn't make it. So
That is the risk, I guess,
yeah.
isn't it?
The first year we did it at our camp. Some of you were at, who was here that was at our first show at Camp Scholler? Yep, I remember. There were 20 or 30 people there that walked 17 miles west to our campsite. Yeah, witnessed a lavatory unload in the middle of the show. That was in 19 and 21. We went to the forums, which are close. And then AOPA offered to host us last year, and we're back again. So thank you, AOPA. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. You ready to get this thing started?
Let's do it.
All right.
Ready.
Since OB290, Jeff, we have a ton of new patrons again. I hear you talking about that. In the show listener tier, Juliet Charlie, Bravo Foxtrot, Charlie Golf, Bravo Papa, Echo Alpha Tango, which I just now realized spells eat. Somebody got money off that. Juliet Romeo Charlie and Delta Foxtrot. Sierra Papa's new in the show supporter tier, and you have a $75 shirt via Second Day Air. Are you here? Sierra Papa? There it is. The show. Did it show up? Yes. All right. And Juliet Whiskey's new in the show supporter tier, and we have 2 new Supreme Galactic Aviation Commanders, Romeo Charlie and Charlie Golf. A special thank you to SGAC patron Kilo November Golf for leaving us some awesome pinata favors. The pinata did not make it, but that's a whole different story. We'll explain it on OB300. but thank you for the candy. And your initials, I cannot remember your initials. I'm sorry. SCAC Sierra Bravo brought penguin cookies for everybody. We're going to share those at the end of the show. Thank you. Do we have everybody that's a patron of the show, raise your hand. Thank you for supporting the show. We're here because of you guys.
Absolutely.
Period. This is why we're here.
Thank you.
Without your support, this show would have been over well before last year or the year before. So thank you for your support, and thank you for coming out and suffering through 2 days of rain. So an awesome Saturday at AOPA. Thank you, everybody. If you're interested in supporting the show, check out patreon.com/opposing bases. If you haven't done so already, leave us a review or a 5-star rating, and hit subscribe or follow. So our podcasts are waiting for you each week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Reviews and announcements.
News and announcements.
Why don't you go ahead with the announcements, and I'm going to find the review that I forgot to put in our notes.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm going to find the review.
You're going to... Oh. Number 1. Alpha Whiskey Golf passed their CFI check ride.
Congrats.
Very nice. Patron Tango Sierra and Patron Kilo Mike Charlie passed their instrument check rides. Congrats.
Congrats. We have a live crowd. I don't need to hit that button.
And Patron Mike Fox passed their, I don't know what that check ride is.
Commercial multi-engine land.
Oh, yeah, okay. Commercial.
Yeah, with 2 spinny things. Congrats, everybody. This week's review is brought to us by Spartan Steve. Are you here? Is there a Spartan Steve Golf here? No? If you are this is a 5-star review. We only read 5 stars on the show. If you're a pilot and serious about continuously learning, especially in the area of pilot ATC interaction, this is by far the best podcast out there. A blend of humor, factual information, and a little snark thrown in just to keep everybody on their toes. No question, I'm a better pilot as a result of the knowledge I've learned from Aloha Golf and Romeo Hotel. Keep up the great work, gents. Sierra Golf. Thank you, Sierra Golf, for the awesome review. We don't have a Charlie Alpha segment.
No Charlie Alpha segment.
No.
We're sorry.
We can actually, I have one I can talk about. I don't have it to give out. That's why it's kind of screwed up. I had our business cards.
Oh, I have a couple business cards.
Have we talked about business cards on the show?
No.
All right. Back in the day when people didn't have everybody's phone number in their phone, there was these little tiny pieces of paper. We're going to show them to you. Does anybody know what a business card is? All the kids in the crowd, they're like, what are you talking about? Charlie Alpha segment. I'll explain it real quick. There's one. It's got our logo. You hand it to people. It's got a QR code. It's kind of a way to merge it into the 21st century.
21st.
Yeah. The Charlie Alpha segment started with our friend Charlie Alpha from Australia. She was sending lots of emails that were going back into kind of looking back on things of the past that AG and I were exposed to because we're like 100 now. Not as old as Jeff. But we try to take a stroll down memory lane with the Charlie Alpha segment. I'm sorry I didn't have one more readily prepared, but today's is business cards. If you want to grab one on the way out today, share it with a friend. Someone who hasn't ever heard of a podcast, they can read the QR code. It'll pull up the app on their phone. If you are new to podcasts and you are embarrassed about sharing that you listen to shows, don't be. You can find something about anything you want to hear on the internet with a podcast. So share it. That's all I have for the Charlie Alpha today.
I like it. That's a good one. We have a few of these to give away.
A few.
Yeah.
The rest of them are in a box
somewhere
in my suitcase.
Right.
In Atlanta.
Yeah.
Did you put an Apple AirTag in there so you can track it?
I didn't because my Apple AirTag's in my wallet because I lose that literally twice a week. My wife's listening. She can laugh at that. So, all right. That's it.
All right.
Timely feedback.
Timely feedback.
All right. There's 2 of these and then a couple feedbacks. One of them's live in the audience. There's one time feedback. You want it?
No, Brian does.
Oh, go for it.
Oh, man, I usually read the reviews. Okay. From patron Romeo Kilo.
Hold on. Do that again.
From patron Romeo Kilo. Hey, Romeo Hotel and Alpha Golf. Romeo Kilo from the not the Simpsons' hometown Charlie. I just wanted to let you guys know that I value what you are doing for those of us who are entering our aviation careers and or hobbies, because I count you as one of the top reasons I've been so successful throughout the last 2 years of training, from zero time to commercial single engine and ground instructor. Your podcast has helped a lot of my cadre at the flight school get more comfortable with using ATC and navigating the NAS. And several of us are becoming instructors and using you as a resource to help incoming pilots get a better mental picture of our interactions with ATC. Also, as a direct result of your helping with this low-hour pilot understand the NAS better, I was able to take my family to AirVenture in a 172 with no difficulty and fully knowing what to expect and how to respond, and be the least amount of trouble to ATC I can be. Is he my best friend?
He's your best friend.
Yeah.
I think you just became best friend.
Unfortunately, we will miss you guys at Oshkosh. As we will be leaving Thursday, I have to get back to my students and to do their final review class so they can go take their written exams. Blue skies and no brasher warnings.
Thank you, Romeo Kilo. Sorry we missed you. Many of you probably stayed because you wanted to be at the air show for a couple more days. But if any of you stayed just for this today, it was worth the wait. The weather's great. It's supposed to be an awesome day today with visibility. Should be an awesome afternoon and night air show. So we do appreciate you guys staying. This is definitely our biggest crowd we've had for a live show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Here at AirVenture.
Yeah.
So
thanks for turning out. It means a lot.
yeah, very good. All right. I shouldn't have to play airplane sounds. But the tri-motor didn't fly by at the right time. All right, this week's show topic is all going to be audience feedback. We're going to get through 2 of these. One of them is going to be read live. That'll be second. Stand by. And I have it printed out if you don't want to use your phone. You want number 1?
Number 1 from SGAC patron Mike Charlie. Are you here?
Is Mike Charlie here?
Mike Charlie.
Paging Mike Charlie.
Bueller. Bueller. I guess not. I'll read it. So one thing me and some fellow
Single engine turboproppers.
single engine turboproppers, thank you. Still catching up on the civilian.
Hold on, it's written as SETPers.
SET-PERS.
Setper.
You know, it's funny that the airplane single engine land is the only civilian rating I have, and it's the one I didn't know. Really sad. All right. The SETPERS were wondering about, from an ATC perspective, what would be involved in allowing VFR flights for altitudes up to give or take flight level 250. What would be involved in allowing that?
VFR to flight level 250.
I guess like if you have an F-16 or an F-18, maybe like your military.
I think he's talking about a rule change.
Oh, a rule change.
He explains.
Oh, we're all taught that Class A starts at 18,000 because of the increased closing rates above that. But now that we have autopilots, GPS, ADS-B, etc., it feels as a pilot that it would have basically negligible risk and free up a lot of ATC resources if they could treat us non-jet people as VFR without needing to maintain the IFR separation requirements. I'm asking because on the East Coast, we tend to get descended super early, which obliterates our fuel economy. If we could cancel IFR at 24.5 instead of 17.5, it would simplify our lives greatly and save boatloads of fuel. But I'm wondering how much of the system on your end depends on the invariant that all aircraft above flight level 180 are IFR. Keep up the good work. Love the show. SGAC Mike Charlie. Well, yeah, I
That's scary.
it is.
It's terrifying.
I mean, I've been VFR up that way, but we're in a foreign country,
Okay,
deployed.
right. The other problem, really, the biggest hurdle that I see to this is center controllers working VFR pilots. At all.
Let's verify you're wanting to squawk 1200 and not 7600.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you require assistance?
So I think closure rate's an issue too.
Yeah.
If you have a single engine turboprop at 240 doing probably easily 300 knots over the ground.
Yeah, a lot of them. Yeah, 300 true.
300
Yeah.
true.
300 over the ground in the face of a jet. I think the root of this question is if we could cancel higher and be VFR and stay out of your hair and save gas, why not? We're VFR, we're looking outside. Closure rate's a big deal. And even though you're VFR, we don't want anybody to hit you. So in the times where you're being told to descend in a turboprop, even in jets, for anybody who's flying a jet, you're going to get brought down eventually, and you're going to spend more time at a lower altitude burning more gas than a perfect world, because you're not the only airplane out there. A turboprop, and they're not treated like second-class airplanes, but they are put down at lower altitudes than jets earlier to prevent that conflict when they want to start their descent closer to the airport. That's just not going to happen. So if you were able to cancel higher, you're still in a way, you're still a plane with people in it, and we would want there to be a separation there. So it may solve your problem of being legal to stay up there, but it would create a nightmare for traffic.
Yeah, and you would have to increase the 500-foot requirement. Can you imagine passing? I mean, it's bad enough when you pass somebody 1,000 feet and you're both going 400 knots. That looks really, really scary.
Terrible.
Imagine half that, 500 feet, and you've got a huge closure rate. That just seems like.
Yeah, and you got TCAS that's not happy with 500-foot separation.
It would
like
be
700-foot separation.
Yeah. Right.
And then pilot's saying, hey, my TCAS is going off. I need to do something. Yeah. And, if you got two single-engine turboprops doing 300 true each, or hurt, because that's how fast they go, they're 500 feet separated, but their closure rate 600 knots. You're not going to have – that's 10 miles a minute.
Right.
So when they're 10 miles away, you have 1 minute to see them before they come up on you.
Right. And you can't see them until they're right there.
Yeah.
It's not like the pilot's going to be able to do anything.
That's going to be like 6 to 12 seconds if you're lucky.
Yeah. So I know you can go fast at flight level 180 and that. You could go almost as fast at 180, but the lower that you can remain on with air traffic, I think that's the root of this. Why can't we cancel? We could stay up here more time and save some time or save some gas and go faster. We understand that, but it doesn't work. You're going to end up descending through departure paths into these metropolitan areas and create TCAS nightmare. It would be a mess.
Yeah. One aircraft's convenience is another one's conflict. Anytime you're trying to cut a corner, it's somebody else's, you're delaying somebody else. There's always a give and take. There's an ebb and flow to the system. And coming screaming out of the sky, we've been asked this question a lot, especially with Honda Jet folks in the Northeast, all along the East Coast, because they want to be in the 40s. And they want to do it. They want to stay that high as long as they possibly can. And it just doesn't work because, like you said, you're descending right through a whole stream of arrivals and departures into the busiest airspace, in the world. So,
one last thing on this, I went back and forth with Mike Charlie. If you are high and you want to stay up there a little bit longer, and you feel like you could buy 5 or 10 more miles, ask for a fix and a crossing restriction. Then you can hang it up and come down at 2,000, 3,000 feet a minute. That sounds crazy for the GA guys, but in a jet, that's not crazy if you're trying to conserve gas. Ask for a crossing restriction, and then they can comply with their letter with the adjacent center or TRACON that says here, in this spot in space, they have to be at 9,000 or 10 or 11, depending on where they're going. Sometimes a little bit higher, but ask for that fix. Go down at your leisure.
As a controller, I love using crossing restrictions because once that plane is clear of any conflicts, let's say I need him to cross something at 6 and there's nobody under, maybe there's a 4 or a 5, but I'm not worried about them. I can forget about them. And now it's on the pilot to manage that descent and get to that place rather than me arbitrarily picking some point to tell them to start down, and then watching them to see, are they going to make it? Are they going to make it? Do I need to get a point out? Do I need to call somebody else? Do I need to ask them now to expedite because they didn't go fast enough at the beginning? So yeah, I agree. Crossing restrictions are fantastic.
Cool. Thank you, Mike Charlie. Number 2 from Patron Alpha Juliet Sierra, who's here live. You want it on paper?
If you have it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Do you want to do any preamble to this since it was
Sure.
in the middle of the conversation?
Yeah. It is in the middle. Well, first, this is my driver in the super fast car experience I had near the Rectangular Bravo Airport. It was awesome. Thank you for taking me on that.
Anytime.
Smartest move ever, not letting me drive. My wife's in the chat room. She said, I'm so glad he didn't let you drive. We'd be in debt forever paying for that car. So,
You can live in a car, but you can't race a house.
our back and forth on this came. There's a lot of stuff on the internet that, and all of you, if you're engaged in aviation, you're exposed to it on YouTube. There's a lot of stuff out there that's clickbaity. I won't name the channel. It's probably 50% clickbait, 50% really good, useful, down deep dive into ATC. Awesome audio and graphics. And some of them just drive me crazy because there's no context. For the pilot, it's not fair, and the controller, it's not fair. So he and I went back a little bit, and I told him, I said, this specific one made me so mad. Not the one you're going to talk about, but the reason we started the conversation that day, it fired me up. I was upset about it because I feel like the controller went too far, but I feel like the pilot kept baiting him, knowing I'm going to end up on the internet with this. This is awesome. I got him. And I really do feel like that happened. And it's not productive for aviation to see that stuff. So anyway, that's the background on how we started talking about this specific channel, which I do like this one.
So this particular video was parallels at the Sourdough Bravo, and there was an Acme flight that got switched from 28 left to 28 right, or vice versa. Not the one that they expected. So they programmed the box and done everything for the one they expected, and then got switched at the last second. They asked for 2 minutes, which I thought was optimistic at best, but took about 4 before the controller had them clear the runway to make room for the next airplane coming in. The controller had given them 5 originally, but again, they kind of went back and forth a little bit. The controller chastised them on the frequency for not being ready because the ATIS stated to have the numbers ready for both runways. The APG show covered this a couple of shows ago and brought up a really good point that just because you have the numbers doesn't mean they're plugged in, right? Doesn't mean the FMS is programmed. You can't plug 2 runways in at the same time. The way I wrote it, I would posit 2 statements. The crew was in the wrong for saying they could be ready in possibly an unreasonable amount of time. And 2, the controller was unnecessarily harsh, possibly due to not understanding the insane amount of buttonology required to take off from a nearly identical surface 500 feet away from the one planned for. There's a tremendous amount of nuance to the simple act of flight that most people don't realize and therefore take for granted. That's why you penguin herders are so damn valuable to the drivers of us bug smashers, buses, and Boeings alike, not to mention the occasionally myopic or misinformed airspace deity known as controllers. I kind of feel sorry / not sorry for triggering you. I don't want to upset my friends, but when you guys get a little passionate and ready to rant about something, the rest of us get aviation knowledge gold. So thanks for letting me rev you up.
Thank you, Alpha Juliet Sierra. So kind of some more background about this specific airport is advertising parallel departures, very close together. It's a mess of an airport on the West Coast due to the number of airplanes and how close those runways are. And the expectation that's on the ATIS and printed out for the crew is have both runways ready. And I don't think the controllers really understand what that means. Jeff, can you help us with that? From a controller point of view, when I say have them both ready, and you tell me it's going to take you X amount of minutes, what happens between how long until you can have this other runway that I told you to be ready for and ready to go?
I think one of the problems is that we get this false impression of how long things are actually taking. So when we have to, let me explain what we have to do. We have the data usually for both runways because ATIS told us to do that. But as you mentioned, we have to have it plugged in. One of the runways plugged in, the most likely one, probably the initial one that we were told to taxi out to and to expect. But they need to have that flexibility to put you on the other runway, because they told you should have the data. We do have the data, but we have to change our flight management system. And it's not just a matter of pushing one button and then it automatically loads everything and we say we're ready to go. It takes a little time. We have to reselect the runway. We have to confirm all the numbers. We have to do a new briefing on the new runway. Even if it's almost identical, we still have to go through all that. We have to go through checklists, what we call boxed items on the Acme checklist, or runway change items. We've got to go through all these checklists before we're ready to go. So I think the captain or whoever was talking on the radio, maybe the first officer, kind of underestimated how long it was going to take, that process. And he said, we need an extra 2 minutes and we'll be ready to go. Well, no, I mean, it's almost impossible to do it in 2 minutes. And then I think that's what frustrated the controller, because he said it would take 2 minutes. Okay, now it's been 4. Now you got aircraft coming up your tailpipe and we need to get you off the runway. She said something, I think it was more of a statement to herself, like, okay, you can't be on this runway. And that kind of ticked off the pilots. And they thought that they were being criticized for being on the runway that they were told to go on to. So I think that, and then that's when she finally said, you know what, we don't have time to talk about this right now. And so they moved on. So it was just a matter of, I think, underestimating, both by the controller and by the pilot, how long this process was going to take.
Thank you, Jeff.
You bet.
I'm going to fanboy on you for a second. For those of you who don't know, Jeff is the producer and host of Airline Pilot Guy Show. And AG and I, years ago in 2018, I was listening to that show, and I think you had listened to some.
Yep.
It was the inspiration for us to start this show. So without Jeff and his awesome show, we wouldn't be here today. Don't just take the credit.
No. So actually, this is what really happened. They go, man, these guys really suck. I think we could do so much better. And that's what happened.
That is false. Thank you. Anything else about the parallel departures?
Can I add something?
Yes. Here, please grab the mic. We're having a lighting issue with all the sun, but we'll try to get you on here.
No problem. So it's Captain Al here. I fly an Airbus, also co-host a podcast. But I was just going to ask you two guys. Oh, that would be the Plane Safety Podcast.
Yay!
So I was going to ask the controllers in the audience, do you guys also appreciate that if you give us a runway change, it's not just the departure that needs to be reprogrammed and replanned, it's the emergency return scenario that has to be reprogrammed and replanned. So that's another set of buttons that need to be pressed in a rebrief. So in this particular instance, I entirely agree with Jeff. The 2 minutes, I don't think anybody actually expected anybody to sit there with a stopwatch and go, okay, we're at 120 seconds now. Give me a minute. It's a phrase, isn't it?
Right.
No one in the real world is going, right, well, you've been, 65 seconds here. What's going on? So, yeah, one of the areas that I work with, and I was talking to the NATCA guys just recently, over in the UK, I facilitate jump seat rides for air traffic controllers with our airlines, so that you controllers can actually come and see what we do and what the implications are for what you do. And when you give us a curved ball, how we've got to try and juggle with that ball. So we have to work together on this.
Absolutely. I think right now in the NAS, there are so many new controllers that don't have any experience in the cockpit of an airliner or in the cockpit of any airplane. And it isn't that they're not good at it. They don't know. They don't understand what pilots are going through on their side. Even in a small airplane, like training that we're dealing with, there's just a lack of understanding on the controller side of how much is going on in the airplane and how down the tubes you can be as a pilot with, what to a controller seems like a simple thing. Just turn the plane 30 degrees right, join the localizer. How hard could it possibly be? Well, there's a lot going on. And I think the more, FAM rides we can do, the more discussion like this we can have and expose both sides to what is going on and the constraints that you're under, the better off everybody will be. So,
Sort of the point of the show. I can't believe I forgot to play a certain sound effect.
Oh.
Perfect segue into it, though, because we're going to start with audience stuff.
okay.
Hold on. Feedback time.
Feedback.
All right, this show is for the audience. You guys are here live. There's a microphone. I think I got the video fixed where they can see again. It was a little bit dark. It's your turn. Who's up? I had the first one slated for someone who had to leave. That weather this week was a challenge, so I know you guys went through a ton to be here. Don't be afraid to stand up. It could be the most basic question. Ask it. We're here to answer it today. And if you could, when you stand up, just say your initials and a little bit about yourself.
Well, somebody's got to start first. Mike November here.
Hello, Mike November.
My question is pertaining to flight following. If you have to do a dog leg, I want to leave from Jemovan Airport under the small fruit Bravo,
Okay.
and go up to the island where they don't allow motorized conveyances, but don't want to fly over a lot of water, which a direct route would take me. So how would I call that through for flight following, being that I'm not going direct, and if they're trying to follow my track, it's not going the right way?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that are going on with that. One, just like you said, your on course is this way, but you want to make a dog leg, and so you're going northbound, and they're going, "Hey, where are you what are you navigating towards? What are you doing?" So there's that side of it. Then there's the automation side, because the system believes that you are going from here to there, and what sectors are in between that is where that handoff from sector to sector is going to automate. Well, once you depart off of that, and now you're navigating into a different sector than what the computer believes you're doing, you're not going to be able to hand it off with automation. So the way to overcome that on the pilot side is there's a couple ways you could do it. You could try on your initial call up to add in that one extra fix, maybe. I would not do more than that. And gauge, is the frequency busy? Is it slow? If it's slow, I would go ahead and try to add that one fix in. I want flight following to this airport via this VOR or via this fix. And they're going to have to do a little bit of work on their end, the controller is, to type that in, unless you're talking to a center, because they can just think it and it goes into the NAS. But
the two scenarios that I thought of is, fortunately, I can get flight following from the ground at the airport.
that's
So I have a lot of
easier.
chance to talk to them. Or just tell them I'm going to the intermediate fix, and as I approach that, I said, "Oh, by the way, I'm going to
That's
turn
another
right."
way to do it without having to add those extra points into your initial request. If it's busy, that is a great way. That's a great way to do it, because it sort of, I don't want to say kicks the can down the road, but it moves it down to where you've spread the workload out, the controller workload out over maybe a couple of sectors.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought, but I wanted to get a more official answer.
Yeah, one other element of this, it depends on the length of the flight. If you feel like you're going to be on with one or two TRACONs, you can probably give all those fixes to the first one. Establish a relationship. Start your relationship with ATC slow. Once you feel like there's time, hey, can you add this fix, this VOR, this airport? I want to stay over the land. If it's a longer flight, you can wait. Wait to start that. Hey, next time you get a handoff, you're in somebody's new TRACON. And when I say longer flight for GA, over 200 miles is a pretty good flight. You're not going to talk to one TRACON. You're going to talk to 4 or 5.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be afraid to wait. You want to add some more. You see weather up there, you want to navigate over, say it. Put it in there so they can hand you off and keep you in the system.
Yeah, my primary plan is to talk with the ground controller as I'm setting up. So I got plenty of time.
Yeah, that is
Yep.
the ideal way. That's definitely the ideal way. And I would, in almost every circumstance, I would avoid on initial call up rattling off like 2 or 3 extra fixes in between where you are and your destination, because there's no way the controller is ever going to be able to write it down, type it, or remember it. It's like as soon as you start typing, the stuff that the pilot said, it's like just flying out of your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Real good. Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Good question.
We have go ahead. Round of applause. Thank you, Mike November. We have an ATC expert for AirVenture. Does anybody want to share an arrival story or a question about something that happened to them on the arrival or a question about the departure? We got one from back there. Come on up.
Delta Alpha. This is my first time at AirVenture. Flew in. I'm a CFII.
Just pull the mic a little bit closer. There you go.
Close.
Yep.
I've been studying, watching videos, listening to you guys for years. Heard the podcast. Wasn't sure if I was going to come up this year. Studied the NOTAM for years, not making it. On Thursday, we're flying up, and there was a traffic jam on the ground, and they couldn't get anybody in. And so the FISC controllers were sending everyone all the way back to Endeavor Bridge, instead of like putting a hold over the lakes. And then when they would open it up, they'd be like, okay, everybody come on in. If you've been holding, and if you weren't holding, don't enter. And it was like, if they've been using the lakes, they're like, okay, first lake, come in, second lake, come in. So they get a whole bunch of people. I think people were going around 6-7 times all the way back to the bridge. And it was a bit rough. And I was wondering if there was anyone that's going to debrief that type of thing.
Since I am not here this year, that was a change in the way they do it. They usually do the like publish the Rush Lake hold, the Green Lake hold, and then we can make up some holds outside of that. It looked like it just kept the line going as one big hold this year. I was interested in seeing that too, and I haven't heard anything about it. I think it worked. It did stink that you got to fly the 60 miles for the arrival, and you got to fly 60 miles back to Endeavor and then back again, and there was like 3 or 4 guys or a lot of them that flew the 3 or 4 times around that lap. And this is the highest traffic AirVenture I've ever seen. Thursday, just a huge mass of departures. I'm sure, I don't have the numbers, 2,000 or 3,000 airplanes left before the show. I'm sure. Before
There's
the
a
show.
lot of departures.
And to get those out and try and get those airplanes back in, well, we got to have space for you to come in. And so we got to clear out some of that. I heard stories of guys holding in their airplanes and then just shutting down, and so they didn't overheat, and just waiting in line. And that's the EA that does the organization on getting them to the runway. The controllers only have the first 2 or 3 airplanes there to talk to, and then they keep moving, and then we move them on to the runway and get you going.
The one other thing that happened is they went from 90 knots half-mile spacing to 90 knots mile spacing to 90 knots 2-mile spacing.
It's tough.
And people kept joining when they were saying don't join, and you got stacked up trying to back up.
That's tough because we want everybody to have a good time and don't want the fear of a FSDO coming down on you because somebody did something and they're going to get in trouble or get talked to. And is it going to be a compliance talk is what they call it, which is the, hey, let's talk about it, let's learn about it, or the enforcement talk, and we're going to do some kind of action. And that's what pilots are scared of, and that's what they don't want to happen is just to go straight to here's a speeding ticket and here's your court date. They don't want to do that. And we want it to be a more welcoming environment so that you're happy to be here. And unfortunately, just like TMU initiatives out in the NAS, they can only land so many airplanes here, and to do it safely, we have to put those, or the controllers have to put those restrictions into effect to get everybody in. And I think everybody, all the GA guys coming in, and then the airline guys can see it. Hey, this is why they get flow into bigger airports. There's only so much time available on the runway. And even with the reduced 1,500 feet landing on the dots, there's just only so much time on the runway.
Good question. Thank you.
Thanks.
You can just hand it right back to them.
Patron sounder.
Oh, here we go from Patron.
Juliet Echo Charlie.
Hey!
Gentlemen, nice to meet you.
I didn't recognize you.
So this is my first time at AirVenture, my first time for a live show. And for many of you, you may know that I've contributed a little bit to this show.
Audio is amazing. Quick plug for Juliet Echo Charlie, Rectangular Bravo. Thank you.
I tried to rename it to the Grits Bravo. It's sort of stuck, but not really. And the reason, because we have this breakfast theme with the sourdough Bravo and the coffee Bravo. Aren't after grits,
Where's Tiny
Gritz.
Fruit Bravo?
Huh?
Where's Tiny Fruit Bravo?
The Tiny Fruit Bravo.
Is that out west? West of here? Oh, okay.
Who's got that spreadsheet that keeps track of all that?
Yes.
Somebody's got all that.
Sorry, go ahead. I interrupted you.
We're here. There are a lot of people here. I usually think I'm just talking to you two, but here we go. So this will be an easy one for you because y'all had a lot of travel. So we'll make it super easy. Thinking about the old tower and the old Tracon, or the new tower and the new Tracon. Kind of paint a picture in your mind driving to work, getting up in there or getting down into the Tracon. Tell me the thing that you like the most, AG, about the new Tracon.
About the new Tracon,
or about the new whole facility.
The whole facility.
Yeah, anything that comes to mind. There's not a trick question. Just what pops into your mind about my new job.
Okay, I don't feel like when I walk into the new building, I don't feel like I'm getting emphysema or some sort of hazardous material exposure. That's a joke, but
that's perfect. These are going to be rapid fire. Okay. RH, what's the thing you like the least about the new facility or your new sort of routine?
I can't think of a negative thing compared to the old building. That is leaps and bounds and improvement. And every controller wishes we had some newer fancy toys, but the new building, the new view from the tower, I actually don't dislike going to the tower as much. So there's not a lot of negatives when you compare it to the old building, which is a biohazard.
Fair enough. Now, AG, the old building, the old routine, there's got to be something you miss. What's that thing you're like, oh, I wish we still had that in the new place?
The vending machine that gives out free food.
Oh, that was a good one.
So there was some glitch on our vending machine in the old building. And you could get 17-cent items. Anything in there was 17 cents. I liked that so much that I went back and visited the old tower several times, and it would only let you do, I think, 5 or 6 transactions per credit card. So I did 3 credit cards. 8. I filled up a whole bag of 17-cent items. Yeah, the new one, they cracked down on that, man. They don't let you do that anymore.
And then RH, I know we had the emphysema comment, but in the old facility, the old building, the old routine, what's the thing that you say to yourself, gosh, I'm glad I never have to deal with that ever again?
The old Tracon was disgusting. It was dirty, and you felt like you were going to like an abandoned gym. It stunk.
Yeah, I mean, it's 50 years of
dust and grime, and there's some places where you don't want to see what it looks like when you turn on the lights. So I do not miss that room. Now, the new Tracon, you turn on the lights, it looks nice. The carpet's new. There's no dead body outlines on the floor. It's super nice. I mean, I don't miss the old Tracon.
And then, not to leave BK out here, what's the best thing, the worst thing about your particular facility?
I like working the towers. The good mix of airliners and GA and moving airplanes, and is construction. They're realigning the airport. They took out the old crossing runway and they're making perpendicular to the runways, taxiways, and construction is just an absolute nightmare right now.
So, gents, I tried to count it up between SpeakPike and all the audios and various other ones. I think I'm at number 50 today. So this is 50 submissions to the show. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Juliet Echo Charlie. You just sent some awesome audio questions, and we really enjoy it. Please stick around for a few minutes. We want to get pictures afterwards. Thank you.
How you doing? Oscar here from Central Cheesesteak. I had a question about special VFR. So I'll let your brain. So once I ask for special VFR and the controller's done picking up the gray matter off the floor, and I get special VFR, I'm going around the pattern. I got 3 patterns to do just for flight test. I'm a A&P mechanic, so sometimes I have to take the aircraft up, and the weather's not always in my favor for that. One day I was doing special VFR around the pattern. I had one more pattern to go, and the tower closed in the middle of it. Didn't hand me off to anybody, didn't say anything about it. So I'm special VFR in now class Echo airspace, not talking to anybody, still squawking my old code. What should I do?
Oh man, that just came up recently at work. Somebody asked about going into when our when cigarette closes, it goes to E, and they asked about going in their special VFR, and we were like, 7110. Like,
did you miss that portion? It's appendix Zulu Zulu. It says if you understand special VFR, then you can either retire or you're fired.
So I think there's a tiny nuance in the rule that I'm a little bit confused about your scenario. Special VFR is for arriving and departing class Echo, Delta, or Charlie surface areas.
Yep.
Not for Bravo service, but for arriving or departing. Pattern work, I think a good argument can be made that that's not following the intent of special VFR.
Okay.
If you need to leave there because, hey, one half of the field's covered up in fog, hey, look, it looks like that over on the west side. Technically, I'm special VFR, but I can see, bloop, see you later, goodbye. Now the rest of the weather rolls in. Hopefully it's gone by the time you come back. Same thing for when you're arriving. It's the ATIS is picking up the bad side of the airport. Tower controller can see you. Hey, cleared to enter the class Delta or Charlie airspace from the west. Maintain special VFR. It's not designed, and it shouldn't be utilized, in my opinion, to stay there. We had one lurking at like 2,000 feet taking pictures.
Yeah.
And it was like a 3-day argument in the facility about
right.
it.
Yeah, because we're supposed to be one in, one out if there's somebody special VFR in the airspace. So that raised the question, okay, well, can we even arrive?
It doesn't say the arrival departure thing anymore. Didn't it used to say that?
I think so. Listen, I don't want to throw the Army under the bus, but I will anyway. We used to do special VFR pattern work all the time. Now that was helicopter land, where flying around in 300.5 wasn't never that, big of a deal in a helicopter because you could just, creep around real slow, but stop. Hey, I can't see anything. Let's just stop here. So, yeah, I don't disagree with what you're saying.
So what do you do? I think is, hey, I can't maintain legal VFR now. Cloud clearance requirements with 91-155, I think. Just land. No one's out there with a yardstick. No one's out there saying, got them. They're just not doing it. So put it down and land. That's, I think, the safest thing you can do in that scenario.
Thank you. And then one more question for BK, if I may.
Yes.
So I'm sure everybody's heard about the Bonanza that landed the wrong way this year at AirVenture. I was holding short of the runway for departure during that time. They were in the middle of giving me my clearance to taxi out onto the runway when they noticed he was coming in the wrong way. If they had finished that and I was out on the runway, what would they have done with me?
That's an excellent question that is not written down on a piece of paper somewhere. As you can tell coming into Oshkosh, the phraseology isn't the most strict coming in. They would. So I'm going to relate to something that happened at our airport a long time ago, back home. One of my buddies, he was training on local, and a car chase came up to the airport. Dude broke through the fence, which has now been fixed so that can no longer happen again. And there was a car chase on the airport, and the airplane. Oh, there's news about it if you search like red pickup truck at my airport. And the little question came on the radio, "Hey Tower, what do we do?" And the trainer told the trainee, "Hey, just tell him to hold your position, because if you try going somewhere, you don't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what you're doing. He's obviously not in the right faculty of mind for going onto an airport." And so there's two things. One, hold your position, because he's going to see you. And that way he doesn't guess where you're going. Or if it's on that part of the runway there, that you can taxi off into the grass. that would be another option. I would say, and maybe the controller would be able to come up with that right there, because in the moo cow they're looking, they're back behind the paved ditch, right? And they can look and see, hey, I'm going to bring this guy right here, and they'll point to the EA guy and they're like, hey, he's coming here, and then to get you to go that way. That, off the cuff, that's two solutions right there that I would come up with. One would definitely just be either hold your position or turn right, exit into the grass.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for asking the question live.
Can I give a shout out to the controller who was working South Tower that day?
Go for it.
Charlie Kilo, one of your friends that you met. That was her team up there. And then she got on the radio. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I don't know if she was actually working the pattern at that time, but she got on the radio, and because that guy decided to land opposite direction, and it was right after, I think it was within 5 or 10 minutes of a runway change. I don't remember exactly what the time difference was, but I mean, you're following somebody. Why wouldn't you just keep following them? You've been following them for 100 miles now out of Endeavor. Why don't you just keep following them? He's just like, I'm just going to turn and land. And so she got on, and she sent at least 3, if not 4 airplanes around right there and working back around in the pattern. And that was just textbook excellence that happens here at Oshkosh with the veteran controllers and the team leads. And that's, like I said in the previous episode, a couple episodes, that's the experience that a team lead will bring to do that, because you don't want, as a team lead, the supervisor can key over you. You don't want the supervisor to take over. I mean, they can. Sometimes they see stuff that you don't see. But she took it, and she did an excellent job, and I was just absolutely amazed. And this year, so that one landed. There was a couple more that happened over the last weekend that they were able to talk to, hey, finally get their call sign. And the guy's like, oh, they're finally talking to me. No, they've been talking to you for like 30 seconds, which seems like an hour, right? And break off before they land opposite direction. And a lot of challenge coins were handed out this week for controllers catching the opposite direction with the spotters on that. So
a
shout out to the
of
controllers.
applause for Charlie Kilo's team. Thank you. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, I'm the Badger pilot.
Hey, hold on.
Sorry, Patron, the Badger pilot.
It's great to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys too. Great to be here. Great to see the tri-motor still going too. I actually don't have so much of a question as I do follow-up from my previous feedback. You guys had asked how the tower knew I was coming in IFR. So I reached out to our tower manager, and as you guys thought, we do have an FDIO, or you said FIDO, right?
Yeah.
So I asked him, what other cool stuff do we have in our local tower? It's the Spring City Delta down south, or south of here. And so they do have a STARS, so they're able to, the equipment is certified, but the controllers are not. So they can give us traffic advisories, but they can't use it for separation. The only thing they don't have is automatic releases. So they have to call for our release. I've never had an issue with it taking any more than a minute. So I guess this does lead to a question. If there was one piece of equipment, automatic releases or a FIDO or STARS or whatever, that you could not do without, everything else goes down, you need one piece of equipment. What is it?
Oh. Besides a scope, like an actual radar scope, that in the
tower.
In the tower, if let me relate it back to my little tiny sun and fun experience. Working airplanes in a pattern without the benefit of being able to look down and see where they are in relation to the airspace was way outside my comfort zone. If we didn't have the STARS display up in the tower, I would be lost. I'm not educated on it. I'm not trained on it. Don't plug me in. It's not safe. So
Yeah.
that would be my piece of equipment.
It would be really tough to sequence pattern work with jet arrivals without the display, because you just it would take a long time to learn how to gauge it visually, looking out the window. Like, when can I cut this guy in? Because really, you're going to turn a guy's base in the downwind before you probably can barely even see the jet out there. You might be able to see him with binoculars. You might start to catch a landing light, but it would be really tough without STARS. Yeah.
And that's what makes 9 so hard here. 2.7, 3.6, 1.8, pretty easy with the bases and the downwinds. But 9, you're coming up on that dog leg to final, and looking out the window without the scope, You use that just as a reference, of course, but you've got the IFRs. You don't know when they're going to tie for that turn to final right there. And so that's our least favorite operation is a 9 operation.
Now you've got spotters out to help you, right? Or,
well, they're in the tower.
Oh, they're in
the tower. Not the Oshkosh nautical team.
Oh, at your yeah. Oh, right.
No, I'm talking here at Oshkosh.
Okay, here.
So you do have the communicator and you have spotters, but even if you both your spotters are, one scanning the tracks, one scanning that final, they're trying to see, hey, is that IFR Gulfstream how far is he out? Is he going to beat that Cessna, or is that Cessna going to go in front of him?
Yeah.
And then you've got wake turbulence behind like a Gulfstream.
I couldn't do that without a scope. That would be hard. You guys.
I think technology will eventually be integrated into this operation. How many years that will be, I don't know, but I think eventually it's just the sheer number of planes, because this weekend was packed all day Saturday, all day Sunday. It just was completely packed, no weather backups, hours and hours of arrival after arrival after arrival, and they just did an absolute amazing job bringing airplanes into the show this year.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, guys. Mike Romeo, Frozen North Center.
Awesome. Hold on. You're a center control.
I'm a center guy.
We've never seen one in live.
We exist.
Everybody?
And as you can judge by the pink, I'm not used to seeing sunlight. So
Did you send us the picture of the nautical team?
that was it.
That will make it to something. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So a question both controller to controller and as a pilot to a controller. So I work with several class deltas that have overlying approach controls. Our LOAs say our letters of agreement state that the clearance limit shall be the destination airport. Now, if I'm working this airport, I've got several aircraft coming in, feeding to approach control. Would you guys, as approach controllers, prefer them just to be direct the airport, or if, say, Penguin is the final approach fix for the approach you guys are running, if I start running them that direction first, would that work better for you, or would you prefer that they just stay direct the airport? And as a pilot, it works better for me if I'm 200 miles out, I've got the ATIS, I know they're landing 3-6. Hey, center, can I get direct Penguin?
So if you couldn't hear his question, from a center controller perspective, is it better to feed direct to an RNAV fix on an advertised approach, or just keep the airplanes running direct to the airport? It's a really good question.
Two things come to mind. Parallel runways, where you're not sure if you're going to get the left or the right. At an airport like ours, now at a Metroplex, you're never going to do that, but I would assume. But for us, I would say direct to the airport, because, as the center guy, you're not sure, are they going to go to the right side? Are they going to go to the left side? 9 out of 10, you're going to the left side. At a place that only had one runway, and that's where they're landing, yeah, I would love it if center just already had them going to the final approach fix for the visual. Done.
I guess
Too
the
easy.
response is, can we call you and say, hey, we're giving all these guys this fix. As soon as they get into our airspace, you can cut the corner, clear direct to this, and we'll say, because you guys maybe don't have that plate. Would it throw everybody off if we asked you guys to send them there?
No, not at all. We've got we've got basically an EFB above our station. So if you say, yeah, we're doing RNAV 3-6, send them to this fix.
Perfect.
We may say, hey, can you spell it out for us? We'll write it down. Okay, everybody, if you're going here, you're going to that fix. If not, we just pull down the plate and boom, there it is.
Is it ERIDS?
ERIDS, yep.
Oh, that would be amazing in a tower.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's describing something that's more modern. It was invented after 2000. It's got functionality, connectivity to the internet. We don't have those toys.
It responds when you click on something?
It's
not always.
It's not a DOS program.
It's not a DOS.
Windows 7.
Thank you, Mike November. Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you,
awesome
guys.
nautical team drawing, too.
Yeah.
Hey, quick shout out. Jason Miller's back there. We're taking up his time right now. Jason, we know you're back there. He can't hear me. Jason Miller from the Finer Points podcast has a great website, Ground School for CFIs. He's doing a meet and greet. We're in his time here now. Do you mind if we go a couple more minutes with some questions? All right. And we have time for a few more questions, and we are kind of pushing up against the boundary here with the edge of the hour, but go ahead.
So I came back for two things.
Okay.
Go ahead, hit the button because that's the first thing.
Thank you for that.
The other question is nothing to do with air traffic controllers, but
keep going.
Okay, so I was assuming that mug was in the bag that is now lost in space because the universe doesn't want me to have that mug.
We would never check your mug.
This mug has been owed to you for
years.
And you said something in a text.
We've tried it in 3 different states.
So I officially present to you your opposing bases, say altitude, hand wash only mug. I'm so glad he got back up there. Uh-oh, it's trouble.
Patron Bravo Foxtrot, non-pilot aviation enthusiast, and volunteer here on the grounds for flight ops. I'm not an official spokesman for any of the volunteers, but I do have a question relative to the Thursday debacle. Those of us volunteers on the ground watching the airplanes move about on the ground, we're also checking all the flight tracking apps to see what's going on coming in. I'm curious from your perspective, the ground communications, how are the ground communications different from the air communications? We know, we listen to the tower, what they're telling the guys coming in, everybody that's waiting in the hold. And we check the Facebook pages, but we're seeing people saying, okay, I'm holding in the air 50 minutes while we're watching people on the ground for 2 and 3 hours. And I happen to be on duty on that Thursday debacle as I'm seeing people start up, shut down. And just thinking to myself, stop the planes coming in. Let's get these people out of here. Can you clear up how the ground communications and the departures go?
So I wasn't here this week, obviously.
Understood.
There is a hierarchy to the communications. So the way they tell us is Home Built has their own group of volunteers that marshal airplanes. Vintage has their own group of volunteers that marshal airplanes right on the taxiways, right? And then South 40. Yay!
Yay, South 40.
And so there is a liaison, and I forget what they're called. They've got a call sign, and they got a radio directly to the tower. And that person is then interfaces to all the different groups that marshal the airplanes on the ground. Because obviously the communication from the pilot is VFR or IFR in the window. That's the communication from the pilot. So it's a teamwork between that coordinator there and then the operational manager in the tower, who has overall responsibility of the actual active operation of the tower. And they communicate, and he or she's listening to the radios. They're making calls. They've got radios to that person. They've got radio to Fond du Lac. They got a radio to Fisk. You know, like something happens at the airport. Hey, shut off Fisk. Hey, everybody, we just got shut off. We don't know why. Give us a minute. You know, we'll get some updated information. And so it's that person there that's the coordinator between the groups and the operational manager in the tower that decide that. And I don't know what happened. I would say that the airport was over capacity. Just like when an airline schedules 300 flights to depart an hour and there are delays every Monday at 9 a.m., it's like, well, you scheduled way too many flights. The runway can't handle that. And I do know that they started sending everybody at 2.7 and we're landing 3.6, and they're trying some things just to flush out departures and move them as fast as they can. Yeah, and so that will shut down we'll stop the whole arrivals because they got to clear out the airspace for them to come in. And then for those bigger airplanes, you have to come back from what we call the 125 line, which is where you taxi past the whole VFR hold line that's painted on the ground up to the pink shirt, and then you can get on the runway. When those large airplanes or heavies land, it's really large, above 12,500. They're supposed to move back to that VFR hold line that's painted on the ground to expand the runway safety area. And so 100% of the time when a heavy comes in, we're moving everybody back and we're stopping departures at a point to get them out. Does that help a little bit? And then, of course, when the B-29 lands and then C-17, C-5, well, they can't use the runway because they either have to turn around or come back in to get into Papa 2 at the plaza, and that takes time as well. And so as soon as they get all the people that are marshaling and helping them get shut down, make sure we try and talk them into shut down as far away from the runway as they can so that we can start using the runway again. Does that help a little bit?
Thank you, Bravo Foxtrot. Everybody, thank you again for the live questions. AG, anything to say before we go?
I am just glad we made it. It was a long trip. We're very tired.
Mm-hmm.
We took a tiny little nap, but it was definitely worth it. And man, I just so grateful for all you guys for being here, for supporting the show. You know, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I echo that. And everybody enjoy your day here at AirVenture 23, the last day. Have a great air show. We will be around here a little bit afterwards. We cut into Jason's time. We're going to probably share his space over here while we pack up, and feel free to come up, take a picture, and
get a cookie.
Get a cookie. These cookies are for everybody that showed up today. I know, and you know, hey, things happen in the airline world. We had some things we were going to try to give out today that didn't work out, but we get it. We made it, and all the stuff made it. Bravo Kilo, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a blast.
With your expertise, thank you.
I want to give a shout out to all my green shirt, Chinook shirt people out there.
Oh yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Many of you wore OB shirts. If you're wearing one, I'm going to pan out as we close. If you're wearing an OB shirt, round of applause for everybody. Closing out episode 291 of Opposing Bases, Air Traffic Talk. Romeo Hotel.
And Alpha Golf.
And Bravo Kilo.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. What happened last year? Yes! Yeah! We didn't know that was going to happen.